It's Friday, but that's not stopping the haze from shrouding Singapore. The latest PSI reading is 142 at 9 p.m. You would have known by now that the air quality late this morning and early afternoon was exceptionally bad. The PSI hit the hazardous range at 10 a.m. and climbed to an all-time high of 401 at midday. But it dipped very quickly in the afternoon, touching 139 at 6 p.m. And in the last few hours, the PSI has been hovering around the same levels. With the PSI hitting 401, there were questions as to whether work should be scaled down. It also sent Singaporeans into a search for masks, with many complaining that supplies had run out. These were two issues that were addressed at a news briefing this evening. Defence Minister Dr. Eng Hen, who's also the chairman of the newly formed Haze Inter-Ministerial Committee, says N95 masks will be distributed free to poorer households. New national guidelines will also be released every day to help both Singaporeans and authorities manage the haze situation should it get worse. Imelda Saad reports.
The new guidelines are based on the average 24-hour PSI readings. This will help Singaporeans anticipate what the situation will be like the next day. For now, the average 24-hour PSI reading is between 200 and 300. That's in the very unhealthy range. Authorities say they need to prepare for a situation where the 24-hour PSI shoots up to above 300. That hasn't happened. And they stress that the numbers shouldn't be treated as panic lines where everything needs to come to a stop.
We need to keep Singapore going, even if the haze worsens, but take further steps to alleviate the exposure.
The minister also explained why the new guidelines are based on a 24-hour reading.
Pollutants are not quite like bugs, and that the effects are based on a number of factors, which depends on the length of exposure, how dense the pollutants are, and as well as individual variation. Second, as the PERMSEC has said, and I think Mio has repeatedly pointed out, the studies correlating such exposure to pollutants really have been for 24-hour measurements.
So, based on the projection for Saturday, healthy individuals, for example, should wear an N95 mask if they are exposed to prolonged and strenuous outdoor activity, while vulnerable groups should avoid all outdoor activity. Authorities also acknowledge that there's been some panic buying among the public for N95 masks, creating artificial shortages. They gave the assurance that the masks will be pushed out to all major retail outlets, with supermarket giant FairPrice receiving the masks by early next week. But the supermarket chain will also cap the price and limit the number of masks each person can buy. Some 1 million masks will also be distributed to about 200,000 poor households.
And I would want to appeal to Singaporeans. Don't use this occasion, feed on fear and panic, to profit for yourself or to spread malicious rumors. Use this occasion to come together and to really bond society together.
Separately, more than 200 GPs across the island and all polyclinics have been roped in to offer subsidized medical costs for vulnerable groups suffering from haze-related ailments. Now, after reaching a high of over 400 this afternoon, PSI levels dipped in the later part of the day. In fact, just looking around me, the skies are clearer, visibility is better, and I can even see buildings in the distance. But authorities have said to expect the average 24-hour PSI reading to remain in the upper end of the very unhealthy range, at least for the day.